What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video here on Rangers Central. And the Rangers beat couldn't have clutched up anymore. I had no video plan at all today, and I was trying to upload daily. I was like, all right, well, I guess this is the day where I'm not going to be able to upload. Well, now that changed because this morning there was a lot of different things that dropped in terms of Rangers related news. Just more on the offseason in terms of, what the situation is with guys like Lafreniere and potentially an extension. Jacob Trouba, potentially a reunion with Kane. I don't know. We got the most random things that happened today, which we'll talk about all of it. Before we do, leave a like on the video if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you guys are new, especially if you're a Ranger fan, and turn on your notifications so you know I upload or go live. But yeah, let's talk about this because I don't even have a direction of where I'm going to go with this. I'm kind of just going to read what's out there and give my thoughts on it because there is just a lot that randomly happened this morning because Vince had an article this morning, and I guess we'll start on the Lafreniere front to go in order because Phil Kocher, I think I'm saying that name right, on Twitter, does a good job in terms of giving the quotes from articles and breaking it down, so we don't have to go into these articles and read the entire thing to find the juicy quotes. But in terms of the Lafreniere front, apparently Vince was saying in his article, all indications are that the two sides will hold off on negotiations until next summer, according to a person with knowledge on the situation. Which, with that, all I could say is on Lafreniere's side, that makes a lot of sense. And I do love that. I love the idea that he wants to bet on himself. He's so confident that next year he's going to be better than he was this year. And if we're getting a better Lafreniere next year than we had this year, I mean, that's going to be a huge thing for the Rangers next year. I mean, he was already good enough, and I don't know how he could potentially even get better outside of being on the power play and getting the power play points, which I'm guessing that would be Lafreniere's idea in terms of boosting his production, boosting the points on paper, and then he could ask for more money. But yeah, it makes sense on his front. From the Rangers side, it sucks. I don't know why they wouldn't try to budge at least on negotiating with Lafreniere unless his agent, which I'm guessing this is the scenario, that his agent's like, yeah, we're not negotiating anything. Like, suck it, fuck off. Like, that might be the situation with that. But all I could say is that it sucks from the Rangers standpoint, and as a fan who wants to see the Rangers save as much money as possible, as well as see them build a quality team by saving money, and that just doesn't help because my idea was, all right, Lafreniere, he had a solid year, but still not the year that we think he's going to have. You lock him up long-term this year, and you could probably get him at like 7.5. Now, that could change. Like, we could be looking potentially, if Lafreniere has the season that I think he might have, especially with power play production, and jumps up to, like, I don't know, let's just say a point per game or 90 points, we could be looking at him potentially getting $8 to $9 million, which is a very steep price. It's a very steep price for a guy, and I know that's going to be something that's a little controversial, but it's a steep price, and I know a lot of people, like I said, won't love it, but it's the price you'd have to pay, where it sucks that when they were handing him out a contract 2 years ago, this bridge deal, I made the video, I made a video saying, all right, what do you guys think? Should they bridge him or lock him up long term? A lot of people said to bridge him. I don't remember what my stance was on that, but if it was to bridge him, in retrospect, man, I wish they locked him up. If it was to lock him up long term, then, man, I was right about that because they really should have banked on this happening. And I know that you could argue that I was skeptical too, and it was, do you want to? But either way, now you're in a weird situation with Lafreniere where it sucks. Now you're not going to be able to get him locked up long term, and it is what it is. So not really much to talk about from that. So now we'll move on to the Larry Brooks article, where there was a lot of juicy information in this one. And the first thing started with Jacob Trouba, and I wanted to get the exact thing open up because I accidentally, I didn't open up where it exactly was. If I could find it. Let's see. Sorry. Here it is. So Larry Brooks was saying pretty much that his sources are divided on if he thinks Jacob Trouba will be moved. And then good friend Louie, friend of the program, friend of the channel, whatever, he tweeted this one out that about how he has the closest relationship, so it does mean something. But he was basically talking about how they were hyping up Trouba, and listen, that's gonna happen. Obviously, the beat's gonna hype him up, even if they don't agree with it, because one, they have connections to these players that they don't want to lose, and on top of that, it gives a better face for the Rangers to potentially make a trade there. So I don't expect anything to happen there. In terms of the Jacob Trouba front, but I don't know. Like, I'm still 50-50 too. I feel like Larry Brooks' sources, even though I have no sources in the sense that I have a 50-50 feeling if he's going to be moved or not. I do think they have to move him if they want to go big game hunting and if they want to significantly improve this roster. Otherwise, what are we talking about here? And are you as serious about winning as we think you are? In my opinion, I think that Drury and any NHL executive would be too dumb to not realize, all right, he's a third pair defenseman making $8 million and he's a tire fire. There's just no way we could keep that guy on the roster unless there's literally nothing out there. I think they're trying to move him, but it's just going to be a matter of if they could get it done. And to me, I don't know. I'm 50-50 if they could get it done. And then also in the Larry Brooks article, we found out that potentially the Rangers will actually shop Kaapo Kakko, which is actually some big news because I thought when he signed the contract, I'm like, it's a sure thing, a cheap forward. They're going to keep him around, try and hang on to the fact that, oh, he's a second overall pick. Maybe there's something there. It looks like we're wrong, and he potentially is going to be on the move, and they're looking to potentially package him with the 30th overall pick to move up in the first round. And to that, I say, do it, because there is so much talent to be had in the top 15, and I know a lot of people are going to say, Kakko and 30 is not going to get you a top 15 pick. All I could say is that Kirby Dach fetched the first round pick despite a long history of injuries. And I know he was a year or two younger when he got moved, but he still got moved for a first. Alex Newhook got moved for a first round pick. You're telling me that the 30th pick in Kaapo Kakko can't get you potentially a top 15 pick? I don't know. I can't agree with that. I think that could be a potential package to go to the Buffalo Sabres, or maybe if they get into like the 14, 15, 16 territory. I don't know who's picking in that range, which I could actually check there because we got time. I don't have to rush this video or anything, but in terms of where, like the Sharks have that pick, maybe the Sharks are interested in that. I don't know if they're going to be. I think Detroit would make more sense as a team that would want Kakko, or the Blues potentially to want Kakko. So maybe in that ballpark you trade up. But yeah, it's interesting to see that they're potentially exploring the idea of moving a guy like Kakko after I thought, again, after the contract, I'm like, all right, they're signing him to be a cheap forward. And I know that a lot of people were like, well, they had to sign him to move him. That is half true. It would make it easier to trade him, but it did not mean that they had to sign him to trade him because he was an RFA and another team would have negotiated with him, and then that would have been it, which we saw with Pavel Buchnevich and Jacob Trouba here. So they didn't have to sign him, but it just would have been easier if they did. But in terms of the other news from the Larry Brooks article, he was talking about Chris Tanev actually and said that the Rangers at the deadline really liked him and that they could potentially pursue him this offseason, but he does believe that Dallas is going to make the biggest offer and make a really strong pitch that it might not happen. But again, we will end up seeing what happens there. Maybe there's something to it. Maybe there's not. My belief is if Jacob Trouba moves, then they're going to go out and sign a guy like Chris Tanev. And if that's the case, I'm all for that. But is that going to happen? Again, I don't know. But it does make me think that maybe there is some truth to the fact that Trouba will be moved. I'm just trying to hold out hope there because they need to get him out of here. There's just no way around it. And again, we broke down Tanev. If you haven't seen that video, you could go check it out. But the only thing that scares me about a guy like Tanev outside of age is some injury history there. But outside, I mean, the guy's one of the best shutdown guys in the league. So it is worth exploring that avenue. And then in terms of other news, I'm trying to see if there's anything before we get to the last part. There was an article with the New York Post too. I think this was the Larry Brooks one. Yeah. Where he also threw in the end of the article how the whole thing about Igor Shesterkin and was saying if the Oilers pull the cup off with Skinner in net, do the Rangers need to pay $12 million to ensure Igor stays for 5 to 8 years? And to that, I still say no. Like, I know it's an unpopular opinion, but listen, I love Igor Shesterkin as much as the next guy, and I would love for him to be the franchise goalie, and it's a luxury to have this elite level goaltending from him. But let's also not lie to ourselves and say, one, this team needs to learn at some point how to build outside of having an elite goalie. And on top of that, do you want to pay your goalie more than Connor McDavid or as much as Connor McDavid's currently making for a guy that doesn't play every game And for a guy that plays, well, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like, doesn't play every game and just plays as a goalie. Like, do you want to pay a goalie that much? And I know the cap's jumping and everything, but then you're tying yourself to the contract of Panarin. Then you have Zibanejad. Then you have Kreider. You have Trocheck. You have Hedel. You have Fox. You have Trouba. You would have all these contracts for 2025-26. That's got to be at least like 60% of your cap eaten up by, or ate up by 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, by 8 players. That's going to be tough to roster the rest of your team. And then on top of that, Lafreniere and Miller are due for extensions. What are those going to cost? You're talking like 60 to 70% of the cap being ate up by what, 9 guys on the roster, 7, 8, 9 guys on the roster, whatever it would be, 10. So I don't know. Like, I'm still on the fence about the whole Igor Shesterkin thing, but it is definitely just weird that, like, I just don't like the idea of paying him that much. And it's weird to say it because I love the guy, but if that's the case, I feel like you've got to let him walk. I don't know, but we'll cross that bridge next offseason when it gets there, unless it happens this offseason, extension, of course. But on the last news, because this is probably the biggest news that I think we have of them all, there is a lot of smoke on potentially a Patrick Kane reunion with the Rangers, and I'm starting to believe that this is going to happen. I think it makes a lot of sense for both parties, because I just talked about the cap crunch the Rangers are in. Well, what could help them? Getting a cost-effective top-line right winger. Who could that be? Patrick Kane. And he wants to return. The Rangers wanted to apparently make it work last year. From Chris Johnson, he was saying Kane's going to be looking for, I would think, something like a 3-year contract, maybe 2-year. The Devils are in the details of the negotiations, which, not the New Jersey Devils. I know there's been a lot of smoke about a return to the Rangers. And then he also said on a different episode, like a couple days ago, as of right now, the front runner would be the New York Rangers in his eyes. And then you have Frank Saravalli, who said on the Daily Faceoff rundown today, there was a feeling, even when Kane was getting close to signing this past season, that there was some unfinished business for him with the Rangers. The Rangers were one of the teams in the mix for him. They just couldn't offer him as much money as the Red Wings, which is the truth. And because there wasn't 35 plus bonuses, I would be very comfortable signing Kane to a $3 by $5 million deal. I think he wants a little bit of security and term. It's not that he's hurting for money. I think he wants to settle down with his family and get a place somewhere he knows he's going to be for a little bit. I don't think he's going to get $5 million. I think that's just Frank Saravalli saying, hey, that's, the max amount a guy like Patrick Kane would probably make. If I had to guess, I still feel he gets somewhere in the, $3.5, $4.5 million ballpark, which I know isn't that much less than $5 million, but it still is a little something. And for that to be a top line right winger, I don't hate the idea, especially because, like I said, they're in a cap crunch. You're going to need to sign a guy long-term, or at least semi-long-term, to be here while you have all these heavy contracts coming up and everything. Why not get a guy like Patrick Kane, compared to where if they got Jake Gensel, that's going to cost $9 million, where if they got Toffoli, that's going to cost $6.5 to $7 million, where if they got, I don't know, whatever name you want to throw out there, where Patrick Kane, there's mutual interest and the Rangers could potentially just have him here. Again, I know that there could be scare with the three-year term deal, but to me, I look at it as really not that much of an issue if they were to go that route. But I'm starting to think that this is going to happen. Like, there's too much from these these are the top dogs mentioning Patrick Kane stuff. And the only person that has really disputed it, actually, I don't even know if anyone has disputed it this offseason. I was trying to think, but there really hasn't. But you're getting info from the top dogs about potentially Kane returning. To me, this just feels like it's going to happen on July 1st. But again, I have no sources. I have nothing to indicate that. I'm just going purely off my gut and how I feel it could potentially go down. I have no source to indicate that that's what's going to happen. But I don't know. That's just the vibe that I'm getting with how much info there is. And again, could it be a smoke screen for him to get more money somewhere else? I don't know. But I just think that it makes sense for both parties, given the Rangers need to sign guys that are more affordable, and they need to bridge to Gabe Perreault and Brennan Othman. And what better way to do that than to bring in a guy that would sign for 2 to 3 years, and that's the bridge right there. And then I think it gives them the best flexibility with the lineup, because when he played with Kreider and Trocheck, that line worked out. And now that Lafreniere cemented himself as a top line winger, maybe you go Panarin, Zibanejad, Lafreniere, or you keep the second line together, put Kane next to Mika and Kreider, or you could put Lafreniere there and then try Panarin, Trocheck, Kane. I don't know. You have a couple different options going that route, but to me, I'm all for it. I know people are going to be against it, but I'm all for it personally. But let me know all your thoughts in the comment section down below. Just wanted to give you the rundown of Rangers news here on this random Monday morning that we got here, as it's later on, of course. But wanted to give you guys the update. And then in terms of when we're going to find out, probably around the draft, we're going to get more news, which is on Friday. So be sure to tune into the draft stream we're going to do tonight. We have the Stanley Cup Finals game, so that's going to be interesting to see how it goes. But that is going to be it for me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Leave a like if you haven't. Subscribe to, turn on your notifications so you know when I upload or go live. And I'll see you in the next one.